Happy Thanksgiving, guys. We're talking Raiders at Cowboys. I'm going to call this the first real showdown game of Thanksgiving because we don't care about that first one. That one doesn't matter. Right? I mean,
right, we got a Big Ten matchup with
exactly.
Detroit, and I don't even know who they're playing.
Oh, wow. We just got big news here. All right. Big news right as we start the show. CeeDee Lamb is out. Does not clear concussion protocol, which really sucks because they priced everyone up and they priced him down quite a bit. And if he was going to play, man, it was going to be nice. But DraftKings was smart with this. They priced all the other guys up, and now he's out. So good to know as we start the show. We're recording this around, 11 a.m. Eastern, just to give you guys a heads up. But Ellie, what's up, man? How you doing?
Pretty good, dude. Just glad to have a day off work so I can focus on the real fun stuff. Money to Detroit Lions and other weird shit. I am pretty excited for this Dallas game, especially with CeeDee Lamb being out. I think it's gonna be a little bit more competitive game. They're down Coop and CeeDee, so the Cowboys are gonna actually have to play football if they plan to win this game now. So I think that actually makes this game a little bit more fun. And then Buffalo, New Orleans, that should probably be a shit show.
And by the way, we will be doing a show on that. This is our first show of the day. We're going to get out that Buffalo and New Orleans show, in a few more hours after you guys watch this. Let's just jump right into this, though. All right, so Vegas. Now, this might have changed recently. Would you pull that up, Ellie, on your end? See if there's any change in the line now that CD's out. As of right now, it's minus 346 on the money line for Dallas at home. It's a 51 total. I'm guessing the total is going to go down a little bit, and I'm guessing that the Vegas odds are going to slightly get a little closer. But it's still going to, Dallas is still going to be favored, no doubt about that. 7.5 point spread as of now. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe it goes down to 6.5. Maybe we get to 50 or 49 total or something. Who knows? I mean, it's probably the best player on the field.
It'll be closer to 50 or under, and then I think you're right on. It'll probably be 6.5 within a touchdown at least.
Either way, I actually agree with you. From a football side of things, this actually might be a little bit more of an interesting matchup now. We've seen, obviously, Dallas, their offense has been struggling lately. And Vegas is on a 3-game losing streak ever since shit hit the fan with that organization with, Gruden getting fired. And they managed to, rally together and win a game or two. But, with Ruggs out, I mean, look, with Ruggs out, that's a big deal. That's their number one down the field threat. So in addition to the mental aspect of losing one of your best players to a tragedy like that, you have to figure from a football side of things, it actually is pretty difficult. Deshaun Jackson is not Henry Ruggs. No matter how much you want him to be, he's just not the same guy. So Vegas is on a huge slump right now. I see, this is almost a must-win for them, in my opinion, because they're 5-5. They lose this game, and I don't know how they even have a shot to win the playoffs. I just don't see them recovering. Dallas is 7-3. They lost to the Chiefs last week in a low-scoring game. We all kind of got snake-bitten by that game, but I think the Cowboys are the clear favorites here. I think they definitely can win this game, but with CD out, it's a little bit more interesting, wouldn't you say? What are your thoughts on this game? Do you think Vegas has a shot?
Yeah, I think Vegas has a shot. I still think that we're not 100% sure about Dallas's identity. I think that the entire NFL has been a little weird this season, and not to throw shade or be clearly biased, but I think the best team in the NFL is the Cardinals and the Buccaneers. Like, those two teams are more complete beyond any other team. These others just have these weird losses. And if what happened to Dallas last week happened once this season, I'd be like, okay, you lost to the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense sucks. They got shut down with pretty much everybody available other than Amari Cooper. And then it happened earlier in the season, right? Like against, I think it was the Chargers. The Chargers ended up winning, or they ended up beating the Chargers. We don't know who Dallas is. And Mike McCarthy is notorious for being a shitty coach when they don't know who their team identity is. Like, we've seen that before. So I'm not sold on Dallas. And again, like, I don't want my clear biases to come out here, but like, I want people to know I am a Dak Prescott fan. I really enjoy the guy because he was highly underrated.
Yeah.
And, as much as it sucks to admit, like, I do pull for the guy. I like Amari Cooper too, right? And I like CD Lamb. I like these guys. So as much as I hate the Cowboys, like, they are personal, like,
I actually root for the Cowboys.
I'm a fan of some of these dudes. So, I want to see him play. And I just don't know we still don't know who they are. But
all right.
I think the Raiders have a chance.
So let's get to injuries now. This was loaded up right before we went on the show. This has obviously changed. CeeDee Lamb is officially out at this point. So heads up to that. I'm sure by the time you guys watch this, you'll have already known that. Other injuries to talk about. Obviously, Amari Cooper is out. Now, I personally think Amari Cooper being out is the biggest deal. The biggest deal here because he's the best route runner in the NFL in theory. He has probably the most chemistry with Dak Prescott, and I really think that Amari Cooper is the best receiver on this team. Now, we know CeeDee Lamb is dynamic and he can absolutely break a slate and he can win you a game, but I just feel like with Amari Cooper out, it's been really difficult for Dak to get into a rhythm. But one thing to talk about here is Tyron Smith, the offensive lineman for the Cowboys, is back from injury. And that's a huge deal, especially going against this pass rush of the Raiders. Look, the Raiders defense, 6.5 yards per attempt, which is tied for second in the league, and 9.7 yards per completion, which is first in the league. And their pass rush, last week they had 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits against the Bengals. I think their pass rush can really help them in this game. But with Tyron Smith back, they're going to get a big boost. Cowboys are going to get a big boost with the run game and the pass game. Another thing to talk about is Zeke left the game last week. He had, I think it was an ankle injury or something last week, but now he's dealing with bone bruise in his knee. He did practice in full yesterday, and he's not even on the injury report. So there's a chance that you might not see any residual effects from that, but maybe he's at 80% or something, or 70%, which he's still a great player. And in this matchup, Zeke and Pollard might be the guys to lean on with all these wide receivers out. So when it comes to injuries, that's pretty much it.
This could easily be a day where Tony Pollard just ruins everything. Main slate, showdown. I'm with you on that one. I don't even with Zeke. What happened to Zeke's status is still up in the air, and we don't know if he's going to be limited on a short week. So Tony Pollard could be the guy this week, man.
Yeah, exactly. Now everybody has been priced up. We're going to get into that. Or let's just get to the breakdown right now. All right. So Dak Prescott is 11.2K. Derek Carr is 10K straight up. So what do we do here, man? Do we got to go both quarterbacks here? I mean, even Derek Carr at this point could still break a slate with, he could still have a bad game and still get you 16, 17 fantasy points, right? I mean, I think we both have to agree that Dak Prescott is probably the favorite, the highest owned guy in this game, no doubt. But where do we go with Derek Carr here? Because we don't have ownership out. We just have to kind of guess at this point.
So RG does have a little bit of ownership out, but they also have Ben DiNucci projected for 20 fantasy points right now. So I'm not sure what's going on. Will Greer is at 20 as well. So I think there's actually a glitch on RG. But yeah. With that said, man, the CeeDee Lamb news, I really don't know how we get off the quarterbacks just because of a raw point thing. Who else are we going to play? There's going to be too much value here. And unless you're leaving $10,000 on the table, I don't know that I'm leaving the raw points that you're going to get from having a quarterback. You take away last week's loss at Cincy. That we're pretty much fine with on a showdown, obviously, except for the Chicago game. So, you may need to get some exposure here, except, in the Kansas City game, they lost by 72 points. So there's a good chance that, Derek Carr wasn't in the optimal with 20 points just because of what happened in that game. But these are scores that should be in the optimal. But, and then Dak Prescott is Dak Prescott. He could come out and put a 9-point game, but look at how many times that's happened this year, right? So he has the 5.6 and then the 8.4.
Yeah,
Every
games.
other week, he scored 20 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than 19.88. It depends on how technical you want to be with me there.
Yeah.
I don't know how you avoid either of these guys. And Derek Carr's initial projection ownership is under 40%, which is dumb.
Yeah. So to add to this, the offensive line last week for the Cowboys had allowed 5 sacks and 8 quarterbacks hits. So I know that they're getting an important offensive lineman back, but this Raiders defense can cause some trouble for them, and they might really need to establish that run right off the bat to take some pressure off the pass game. So let's move to anything else to add here with quarterbacks. I mean, I think you just got to get a fair amount of them. I'm not going to put the quarterbacks in the captain in this particular game. At least that's just me. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think there's better options on today's slate.
All right, let's go to Dallas. Go ahead, take it away with Zeke. Zeke's at 10.8K.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. I don't know where I really want to go with Zeke right now. I definitely think it's going to be impossible to come off of him, but I don't know that I'm going to have much captain or high-end exposure there, right? I think the interesting way to attack this slate is really to handcuff Zeke and Tony Pollard. We really don't know what we're going to get from kind of the periphery players with CD and Amari Cooper being out. Maybe the tight ends get a little bit more involvement, or Cedric Wilson. And I definitely think there's going to be some value that we're going to be able to get to at the wide receiver side. But I think this is an handcuff Zeke and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard does like to get in. Zeke's still probably going to get, 15 carries. What's he looking at? Pretty consistently.
Yeah,
he only had 9 last week.
Yeah, he left the game early last week.
Yeah,
he was hurt.
And look, he still had 6 targets, right? So 15 total touches for Zeke isn't necessarily a bad thing. 10.8K. I mean, that it's a little bit stressful for me.
Priced up because of
again,
CD.
Yeah, but with everybody being gone, the amount of raw points the team might, if he gets 15 points, it line to move kind of closer to the under, or the under what it was. I think those are things that kind of point more towards the running back game. So if that's the truth, right? What if Dak does struggle? He may not be playing with any of these. Noah Brown, isn't that their 5th string receiver? He may not be playing catch with any of these dudes.
Yeah.
So it might take a second to kind of get a rhythm up. So I'm in love with the running backs. I think I'm kind of torn. I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Tony Pollard at the 7K price, but I'm not going to be upset with a handcuff and then run it and then keeping Dak in with them too.
Look, the Raiders' rush defense is nothing to write home about. They're tied for 24th in the league in yards per carry, and they're close to dead last in yards per game, at 132 yards per game given up on the ground. This is with the offensive line pretty much at full strength, and the lack of pass catching experience on this team. I think this is a smash spot for Pollard and Elliott. And pick your poison, roll the dice as to who you think is going to actually get the majority of carries. Because, look, Zeke is a little banged up. So if this game gets out of hand, maybe they just don't use Zeke as much and they go with Tony Pollard. Pollard's at 7K, man. He's priced up. Last week, the guy's at 3,800. The week before, he's at 5,400. He's never been above 7,600 this year. So that's earlier in the year when he was everyone was talking about him taking over as the number 1 guy. So 7K, he's priced up because CeeDee Lamb's out. We know that, but still you're going to have to get some raw points somewhere, and the price tags on these guys is a little ridiculous, but there's a reason for it. Now Corey Clement's $200. I don't think I'm going down that route necessarily, unless you think that Zeke can go to the blue tent in the first quarter. I'm not going to mess with that, right?
Yeah, man, Zeke and Tony Pollard, those are the guys I really don't plan on getting much exposure to anybody else.
So here's the interesting thing. On the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs is $6,800. He's $200 cheaper than the backup running back on the Cowboys. I mean, look, if you had to give me a choice between Pollard and Jacobs, I'm probably going to pick Jacobs. I know the game script doesn't necessarily set up well for these guys, but Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake's $4,800. Both of these guys I'm interested in this week specifically, right?
Yeah, I think the game script's changed a little bit too. Not having CeeDee Lamb does give a little bit more benefit to the running games of both teams, I think. I mean, if the Raiders want to reestablish themselves offensively, the best way to do it is to get Josh Jacobs and Kenny Drake going. So, at those prices, dude, I'm not opposed to running a bunch of them either. Right? I think this is going to be a very running back centralized game, and then maybe throwing in like Darren Waller or the occasional Brian
Yeah.
Edwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And look, the Cowboys' rush defense is tied for 19th in yards per carry, and they're still giving up over 100 yards on the ground, which is like 10th in the league. So they're not terrible. The rush defense isn't, but I think that in this particular game, I feel like the Raiders just have to establish the run as well with Jacobs and Drake, and I think either one of these guys. I mean, I wouldn't do this, but in theory, you could have 3 or 4 running backs in a lineup. I don't think that that's necessary, but if you did it, I wouldn't think you were super crazy because I think Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake both have a chance to score a touchdown. I think they both have a chance to score over 12 fantasy points. So you got to kind of consider those guys. Jalen Richard at 1,600, Alec Ingold at 200. I'll sprinkle those guys in. I'm not super interested in Richard. But I am a little interested in Ingold every once in a while. Maybe 1 or 2 lineups, right?
Yeah, I don't know yet. Normally, I would say yes, but with the CD news, like I just don't know that anything else is sufficiently priced enough for us to really drop down. I think when we get into wide receiver, it's going to kind of determine here. Cedric Wilson is still going to be a pretty nice value, and then whoever the number 2 is, and then I expect Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin are priced up for CD and Coop both being out. So I don't mind the random flyers on these guys normally. But just given where we're at today, I think that we need to prioritize some other value rather than going with some of the riskier and gold guys.
From what I've seen, also Jarwin is still on IR potentially. He was doubtful and / not activated today, I don't think. So check in on that, but I don't think Jarwin's playing. Josh Jacobs, if you look at his numbers here, I mean, he's had a disappointing season, but still, you're looking at a guy who's probably going to get you 12 plus fantasy points in most cases. Even in losses, he's still doing okay. And with Kenyon Drake, this guy's dangerous. If for some reason Josh Jacobs isn't feeling it, you're going to see some more Kenyon Drake in this game, and you're going to see some targets. You see week 9, they lost to the Giants, which is pathetic, by the way. But he had 8 targets in that game, 6 receptions, 70 yards. We know what he can do. He's got 3 touchdowns on the year. Nothing to write home about, but it's worth talking about in a game like this. So wide receivers for the Raiders, we've got Hunter Renfrow at 8,200. Now, the wide receiver pricing in this game is very interesting. The Cowboys, all their guys are priced up. Hunter Renfrow is cheaper than most of these Cowboy wide receivers, and he's the number one target as far as target goes. Now, Brian Edwards is the all or nothing type play. We saw him score a touchdown the other week. He's 4,200. I like him at 4,200, man. I really do. But I honestly, this is kind of like what we were talking about with Mike Williams the other night on that Monday night game. Brian Edwards is going to get you 0 or he's going to get you 25. I mean, I just don't know that there's really anything in between that. So I actually like throwing Brian Edwards at captain in a few lineups here. It's risky, but it's worth trying. Zay Jones, 1,200. Another guy that is getting involved with his offense, 1,200. I like it. Now, it's Deshaun Jackson to me. I'll probably just sprinkle him in, but I'd rather go with Zay Jones or just pay up a little bit for Brian Edwards. Now, before I get to you, Ellie, and get your opinion on this, I just want to look at these snaps for this team. Brian Edwards is on the field the most out of all these guys throughout the entire season, but by far. Now, Hunter Renfrow, so last week, for example, 84% of the snaps went to Brian Edwards. Hunter Renfrow only 73%, and Zay Jones had 73%. And on the season, you're looking at Brian Edwards has 80% of the snaps to Hunter Renfrow's 61%. Now, to me, obviously, Hunter Renfrow is getting most of the targets. He's a safer bet, and this is the kind of guy that can get you. He can get you there without scoring a touchdown. He can get you, 10, 11 targets, 8 receptions, 75 yards, something to that effect. But the home run guy is Brian Edwards. So thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think I think this offense is a little bit weird. I think you're okay taking one of these guys, and I think you just prioritize Renfrow and Edwards. Those are the 2 guys you kind of rotate through. I'm with you, kind of the Mike Williams attack when it comes to Brian Edwards. I think he's the guy that you can throw in a captain spot, maybe fade in the flex a little bit. And then Hunter Renfrow, he's a guy you're going to jam into the flex because he's going to get 46 receptions and 82 yards. So I think he kind of fits that bill pretty nicely. Let's see, is this
This is Hunter.
Is this Hunter? Okay, yeah. I mean, look, they struggled against Cincinnati. I don't
throw
know
that
what
game
to say
out.
about that. Yeah, you throw that game out. I mean, look, he has 2 games under 10 points. Like I don't know what else we're supposed to say about him.
Yeah,
he's going to get volume. He's going to get targets. It's whether or not they're able to convert these targets.
and I think these Raiders players are just going to be so low owned because everyone's just going to stack up on these backup Cowboy players with CD out.
Yeah. And look, dude, this is a perfect slate for Zay Jones to have a touchdown. Like this is a slate where I expect Zay Jones to come out and do something dumb. And 1,200 on a showdown slate, this is an opportunity for him to go get 2 yards and a touchdown and kind of just ruin the showdown overall. So I wouldn't sleep on a guy like this, 1,200. Again, I still think that there's some other value that might be a little bit more valuable, I guess, for lack of a better word. But Zay Jones isn't a guy that I'm going to be sleeping on. I will have probably 5-10% exposure to him.
Yeah, and you're probably not interested too much in Deshaun, right? I mean, I know he can break the slate on one catch, but we saw what happened to him where he didn't know which side, he didn't know where he was running. He had a beautiful play that changed the game.
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what anybody really expects from him. Like, he's got to learn a brand new playbook. From a team that just had their head coach fired. So, like, I get it. I'm not going to be looking at him too much.
So, CeeDee Lamb is out, guys. We know that. But I just want to leave this up because to see his price. Imagine if he played, man, it would be a lock across the board for me at 8K. But we see Michael Gallup has been priced up to 8,800. Now, Michael Gallup is the number 1 target from these receivers. Cedric Wilson's at 5,400. I like Cedric Wilson, but look at Cedric Wilson's price last week. He was $1,000. You know, he was at 4,800 before that. He's never been priced up this high for a reason, and he wasn't really getting on the field. But now you're talking about a number 2 guy. We saw him go off with wasn't Ben DiNucci, but Cooper Rush and him hooked up in that game for a long touchdown. I don't know how much Cedric Wilson is getting reps with Dak Prescott at this point, but you have to think a little bit with all these injuries. So Gallup, Wilson, these are both good guys to target a captain as well as in the flex. And then you got Noah Brown and Malik Turner, which is a pure dart throw. We just don't know what their involvement's going to be. Noah Brown could be targeted 10 times. I just don't know. So I'm going to get a little bit exposure to these guys, but at worst, they're going to be probably 5 to 10%. And if one of these guys scores, they're not going to kill you too bad. You might not, ship something, but you may be able to at least make your money back if you leave these guys out. So thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's rocket science here. Gallup and Cedric Wilson should be the 2 that you're prioritizing. Gallup's obviously priced way up over Cedric Wilson, which is interesting. I don't understand why Gallup was priced more than CeeDee Lamb.
They're prepping. I get DraftKings knew. They knew it. They knew this was going to happen potentially.
Yeah, I think it's the target volume. Looks like Gallup had 10 last week. Look, Gallup. I don't really see anybody on the Raiders that are going to be able to keep up with him. So if you can pay for him, pay for him.
Well, look, Gallup, before CeeDee Lamb came on last year, Gallup was the number 2. And he was, in theory, he was a guy that you would like to see more than Cooper in some cases because he had that home run ability. And he's been injured on and off. This year he was injured, which sucks. I took a ton of him in best ball. But I think this is when you see him start to get back into the groove here as the number 1 guy on this team. I think you're going to see a lot of targets to him. But here's the other thing, is now the Raiders defense is going to they're going to want to stop him. There's not a lot of, you have Dalton Schultz and Michael Gallup. Those are your 2 best targets. So I think if you can shut down Gallup, it might be a long day for the Cowboys, and they might have to just stick with running the ball. So, any interest in Brown and Turner and some of these other guys?
Yeah, I love Cedric Wilson. Noah Brown and Malik Turner, I'm kind of going to just alternate between lineups. Noah Brown, we've seen him get some love. He's getting about 2 targets a game. Malik Turner, he had a game with 7 targets, 2 touchdowns, and 5 receptions.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily expecting that, but both guys are under $1,000. Both guys are going to get snaps and be involved in the offense. So you're almost better off having some exposure than you are as to not.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Turner seems like the safer bet here because we've seen him do things. And I agree, man. I think you can rotate either of these guys in as your last option and just kind of rotate down. Now that CD's out, they're both in play, and maybe I could be wrong. Maybe their ownership will be a lot higher, but I think you got to consider playing these guys. You really do, and I think it really opens up a ton of different options to go heavy with a high price guy at captain, and then just punt with one of these guys in your last spot. So tight end here for the Cowboys. Dalton Schultz is 7,600. He's priced up as well. I think last week he was in the 5K range. We've seen him score multiple touchdowns. We've seen this guy break slates earlier in the year. I mean, week 3 against Philly, he had 2 touchdowns. The next week, he had a touchdown. So there's just and look at these targets. Between minus that Atlanta game, which they absolutely crushed. They didn't really need him. He's had between 5 to 8 targets in pretty much every one of these games. So thoughts on him, and obviously, like I said, Jarwin is out from what I can tell. He's still on the IR. He'll be back next week, so don't go playing Jarwin. And then you have some of these other guys like Jeremy Sprinkle and Sean McKeon. I don't really even know much about McKeon, to be honest. So do you have any insight on these backups?
No insight on these backups. I will tell you what, RG is going to need to get their stuff updated because they got some weird stuff going on here. They have Ian Bunting at 26 projected points. Anyways,
yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, look, Dalton Schultz is the way to go. McKeon will probably be on the field, and at 1K, I don't mind getting a little bit of exposure to him. Again, I just think that there's going to be other opportunities for guys like Malik Turner, Noah Brown. And even might be more a little comfortable with like Alec Ingold or something like that. But at 1K, this dude's not going to have any ownership. Throw a couple darts with him. I don't think that's a terrible idea. Dalton Schultz is the guy. He should be on the field for 90% of the plays. And to your point, without having your number 1 and number 2 wide receiver, I think this is a good opportunity for him to crush.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's go to the other side here. All right, so let's go to Vegas now. Look, Darren Waller is the man. We know that. He's struggled throughout the years a little bit. He's still getting his targets, though. I mean, he only has 2 touchdowns this year. That's the thing that's a little concerning. But when you look at, from the first game to the last game, those were his best outings. And in between, there's just been some, he's still getting 10, 11. He's got a 16-point game. He's not risky in my opinion because I think he has a decent floor. I just don't know this team. The defenses are keying on him and double teaming him, especially in the red zone. They're just not gonna let him beat you. So with Darren Waller, I think he's a great captain option. He's going to be high owned because he's pretty much the number one. He is the number 1 target on this team for sure. He's at 10.6K, so he's priced up. And Foster Moreau is 2,600. I like Foster Moreau too. I think you can mess with him too. So thoughts?
Yeah, man. I'm all over Foster Moreau today. I think Darren Waller is obviously a great play. Those are really going to be the 2 guys here. I will have a little bit of exposure to Foster Moreau. I don't know if I'm going to have more than, say, the kickers. He is priced a little bit too high than I'd like to see, but at 2,600, he's projected pretty similar to a kicker. I may have a lineup or 2. Again, I think the guy that you focus Darren Waller in as many lineups as you can get him, and then just going back to some of the other value that we saw. I really just, $400 for what's going to end up being a 3rd string wide receiver is just insanely cheap. Yeah. So I think it's easier to kind of just punt there, not pray for the Foster Moreau touchdown week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that worries me about this Raiders team is they are terrible on 3rd downs. They just cannot. Where's this stat at here? They're just not good at 3rd downs here. In the last 2 games, they're 2 for 16 on 3rd downs. So they need to really step that up, and especially they're going to have to be successful in the red zone, and Darren Waller is the key to that. The interesting thing here is Foster Moreau has more touchdowns than Darren Waller this year, and that's simply because, in my opinion, they just key on Waller in the red zone. They just double team, triple team him. That's why Foster Moreau sneaks out of the other side of the tight end spot and is able to catch those touchdowns. So keep an eye on him this week. All right, so kickers. Same as always. Get your fair share of kickers in this particular game. We might need more kickers because of all the injuries and the weirdness going on with these teams. Zerline's 4K, Daniel Carlson's 3,600. Get your fair share, probably 15 to 20% of them. Right? Do you agree with that?
I think that this is a good opportunity to have a little bit of exposure there. Again, this is a last spot type of thing. I'm not going to be prioritizing any of them, but if I need somebody around that price range, I don't mind jamming them in.
So defense, Cowboys 3,800, Raiders 3K. I think you can mess with both of these teams, right? Do you have a favorite here? I mean, probably the Cowboys, obviously, but I'm not afraid to play some Raiders and get with some sacks and some potential fumble recovery possibilities.
Yeah, I don't mind getting a little bit of Raiders. I'm not sure I'm going to have much Dallas. I think some of the news is going to make it a little bit more difficult on their team unless they're able to establish a run. Really early. I don't know that this news is necessarily going to help their defense. So I think Vegas is kind of the way to go here. And then at that point, you're going to be getting them at a massive discount because everyone's going to be expecting this team to get blown out. So, yeah, I definitely think that Vegas is the way to go.
So let's go to our fades here. We're not copping out, I promise you. No! It's just there's no reason to like take a stand on any of these players and say they're not going to go off because anybody can absolutely break the slate on this particular game with all the injuries. I'm not going to overall fade someone. Depending on my game script and my builds, I'll end up fading certain players based off of that build. That's pretty much the only advice I have for you there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we're talking about faded nights, we're talking about some high salary price guy that we're comfortable getting a little bit of leverage by not playing. You don't need to do that tonight.
All right, so I had CeeDee Lamb as my crown their ass. I'm not going to show the graphic, but we'll hit the sound.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
All right, so Ellie, you're going with Waller, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm sure everyone was shocked to hear that one. I just think Waller's in a good spot. At one of these points, he's going to have to hit. It's pretty simple. You add a touchdown to any of those fantasy performances that he's put up in this season, and it's a completely different output. So I think he's a safe bet here. He's a strong bet, and hopefully people are sleeping on him now that he's kind of struggled after the past couple of weeks.
I think as a straight up dart in big tournaments, I'm gonna play some Bryan Edwards, guys like that. But I think I'm gonna actually try to look at Josh Jacobs in this game. I know it sounds crazy, but I think he's gonna be like 5th or 6th highest owned captain potentially. People are kind of gonna be kind of scared off of him, and I think you can do like a 2-4 Raiders or even a 3-3 with Josh Jacobs at captain. That is not one of these lineups that I think is gonna. It's a punt for me basically. The majority of my lineups are going to be Waller. I'm probably end up going to get a lot of Zeke now with some of this value on the wide receiver side. But let's just build. Let's just see what we can do here. Now that we have this news, this is interesting. Now that we have this news, I really want to see what we can do. So let's see if they've updated. Let's see what the opto is here. Prescott at captain, Zerline, Edwards, Jacobs. And okay, CeeDee Lamb's still in, so that's not right. They need to get their shit together, man.
Oh, bro, this is bad. Oh, hold on.
Oh, and he's gone. Hang on, let's see if we can get him back. That didn't sound good. Let's see if we can get this guy back. Check. There you are. You there?
I refreshed the wrong goddamn screen.
Hey, switch your mic back to your regular mic. So,
all right. Did you make sure that your player pool's not, or your settings are fixed? If you're going to optimize, you need to double check that you don't have any bullshit here.
Why? What would be the bullshit?
Well, look, like go to running back real quick, and your RG, like Trey Ragas is projected for 5 points. That's going to mess with your optimal if RG's showing those issues.
I don't see it, dude. I don't see that. I have normal like projections here. Are you on the right slate?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, maybe yours is messed up. Mine's seems to be okay at this point. Let me just get rid of CeeDee Lamb here. Let me exit out of him. Let's just see what happens with I exit out of CeeDee Lamb. So that basically Zeke jumps in there. So Prescott at captain, Zay Jones, Edwards, Jacobs, Zeke, and Derek Carr. So this is a 2-4. I don't hate this. I don't know that I love Dak Prescott at captain, but hey, why not, right?
On a 2-4 like this, I actually don't hate it at all.
Yeah, because I think the minimum amount of Cowboys players that most people are going to get are 3 and most likely 4s and 5s in this game. All right, so who do you want to build with first?
Let's start with Waller since I have the captain that's active today.
Okay, yeah, exactly. All right, do you want to go
both?
Both, okay. We'll go
Throwing both quarterbacks.
Both QBs. Now, you want to get our value now, or what do you want to do here?
No, throwing Gallup. Let's see where the hell we're at.
All right, let's go with Gallup. That leaves us 4,100 for 2 spots.
You want to throw in Malik Taylor?
Yeah. Malik Turner, but yeah.
Same thing. One's on the Packers, one's on the...
3,700 remaining. So that gives us kicker, Daniel Carlson. Or that gives us Raiders defense or Foster Moreau. Something to that effect. And that's 3-3.
I actually don't hate that.
Yeah, I'm going to save that. I don't hate it. It doesn't excite me too much. Let's try something else. Let's try another build here. Do you want to go 1 quarterback? Do you want to go 2 quarterbacks still? Do we like just locking in 2 quarterbacks as our core in most cases?
Yes, I think so. This might be one where I'd be comfortable willing to fade Carr in this lineup.
Okay.
So you want to go Darren? We'll go Darren Waller, Dak Prescott. We obviously need to grab Josh Jacobs or Kenyon Drake if we're doing this.
Yeah, let's go Jacobs. 6,800. I mean, you just can't go wrong.
Priced too well.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, Dallas's run defense sucks. Like, they're not good.
No, they're not. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, Jacobs and Drake are, I think they have a high potential in this game, but they're going to be super low owned.
So let's throw in Zeke.
I really think people are going to, I don't think they're going to sleep on him, but because he's so high priced, I just don't think he's going to be high as owned as he should be. So 5,300 for 2 spots here. Is there any other value we want to mess with besides these? You want to go to Zay Jones? You want to go Noah Brown?
Zay. Let's see what that leaves us.
All right, let's go Zay Jones. 4,100. That gets us right back into the kicker area here, which is why I think the kickers are going to be pretty high owned, in my opinion, because it just fits in this last spot in a lot of cases. And they're going.
How about this? I agree with you. Let's go from Jones. No, leave Jones there. Let's go from Jacobs to Kenyon Drake.
Okay. Kenyon Drake, that saves us about 2K, so that gets us in the 6,100 range. That gets us Cedric Wilson, or that gives us Brian
I actually
Edwards.
like Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, Cedric Wilson. I like Cedric Wilson 1v1 versus Brian Edwards in the flex. When it comes to captain, I'd rather get Brian Edwards. But you could do either. And
again, for that lineup too, right? Like, look, if you want, come off Zay Jones, and then you might be a little bit more balanced out. Yeah. So either way, I think both are fine.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna want to put Brian Edwards in this lineup without our boy Carr, especially with Waller at captain.
True, especially with Waller at there. Yeah. Jones is there for a punt.
This is a well balanced, good tournament lineup. I don't think it's very highly duped potentially, especially with Drake and Zay Jones in there. So I like it. I saved it. All right. Do you want to do another Waller lineup, or do you want to mess with somebody else?
Yeah, let's mess with somebody else. I think we have an idea of what we want there.
All right, let's put Zeke at captain and just see what that gets us, because they're close in salary. So we've already established that we can get some good lineups with a high price captain. Do you want to fade Dak with the Zeke captain here? I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. All right, where do we want to go next? We want to put Carr in. We want to get Waller in the flex.
Yeah, I think we need Waller in the flex.
What about this, bro? What about
Actually,
Tony Pollard action here?
I like that a lot. And then I think this is actually a good opportunity to go back to Zay Jones.
Okay.
What does
Zay
that leave us
Jones,
with?
1,200. 5K.
5K.
That gets us Kenyon Drake. This is what I'm saying about like these, 2 or 3 running backs in a lineup. I don't hate it. It's a little scary, but you could throw Kenyon Drake in there. You can throw Brian Edwards in there. Because you have Carr. I actually really like this.
Yeah,
This seems like
I don't mind that.
This seems like a Cowboys up by 2 or 3 touchdowns in the second half sort of game script, and Zeke and Pollard both go off. You can obviously get kickers here. The point is, and actually, let's try this. Instead of Zay Jones, let's go with Foster Moreau. I know we got 2 tight ends in the same lineup, but we've seen it hit before. 3,600. That's Daniel Carlson. That's Raiders defense. Deshaun Jackson. Not as many options, but you could come off of Pollard in that case and go down to let's try that actually. Let's come off of Pollard, and let's go to a guy like Cedric Wilson and see what that does. Let's put Foster Moreau back in, and that gives us 5,200. So that's a Kenyon Drake, Brian Edwards, Greg Zuerlein situation. So there's just tons of options here, man. Don't be afraid to mix in multiple running backs, multiple tight ends, especially considering all the lack of wide receiver, the lack of like number 1 wide receivers in this game. I think that gives a boost to tight ends. It gives a boost to the running backs. Let's optimize with Zeke and let's see what pops up. So it's kind of what we did similar. It's a 2-4 with both quarterbacks, Jacobs, Edwards, and Jones. I don't hate it, but I personally would rather not put Zay Jones and Edwards in the same lineup. You know what I mean? That's just I'd rather get at least a little bit of Hunter Renfrow involved. So don't forget about Hunter Renfrow. Don't forget about guys. Don't forget about Darren Waller and the flex. Is there another guy you want to build with that captain here before we send it off?
Let's do a Brian Edwards captain.
Let's do it. This is burn your money type of a lineup, but if you have a heart issue, maybe don't do this. You want to go Carr? You want to go both? Well, we can afford both quarterbacks at this point.
Yeah, both quarterbacks. Let's get Gallup.
Okay. We got to get a running back involved here. Zeke or Pollard
Tony
or Jacob?
Pollard.
Okay. That's 6,700 for the last spot.
Dalton Schultz, is that enough?
No. Cedric Wilson.
Oh, he's 7,300. Yeah, that's fine.
Cedric Wilson's going to get some run in this game, man. I really think so. Like, I think he's got some high upside. Or you can go Kenyon Drake here. Either one. So just keep an eye on the inactives. I think we kind of get the idea as to who's out. Cowboys run game gets a big boost with their offensive line at full strength. Tyron Smith back. I think both run games are going to potentially be successful in this game, especially the Raiders. In my opinion, I think they're going to be underrated. Both of those running backs, even Rashard, even the fullback for the Raiders can get some run. So talk to me here, man. What else can we look for here as we're starting to build for this game?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is NFL. This is NFL Thursday, like Thanksgiving's Thursday.
Yes.
What I recommend
Anything
is
can
watching
happen.
some of the pregame shows.
Yeah,
and watch some of the pregame shows, man. You're going to see the players out there practicing and warming up. If you see one of these random dudes just looks like shit, that might be the edge. I'm dead serious. This is something you can do today. Just sit back, watch some football, watch some NFL Network, and see what you can find. Like, you're going to have a little bit more time to focus on some random shit today. So see if you can find something sneaky.
there's even less time. I mean, a game like this, it's Thursday. This is Thursday Night Football. We've seen Thursday, but now you have the holidays involved. You have a game that's starting 4 hours earlier than they typically would start on a Thursday. Anything can happen in this game. I would not be surprised if the Raiders kept this close. I would not be surprised if anything happened in this game. So try to spread yourself out. If you're doing, 80, 100, 150 lineups, don't overcommit to one guy, in my opinion, because I just really think anything can happen. So who's your plan on, or who is your bet for low-owned guy that can score in this game?
I'd say Jones.
I think I'm gonna go with Foster Moreau or Brian Edwards. I think both those guys will be relatively low owned. I think they have a shot to go off. All right, guys. Go ahead and throw us a like, subscribe. We really appreciate it. We're gonna be back for the nighttime game. What is that? Saints and who else? Who's playing this? I'm blanking. Buffalo and the Saints. That's gonna be an interesting game too. So we'll be back for that in a few hours. Subscribe and like. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys in a few hours. Later.